Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. This week I am returning from my fabulous travels to France and Scotland, and I'm returning to Bolton, Massachusetts, and my heart is right where I left it. It's so good to be home. Of course, it's fabulous to be with Amelia and just seeing the beauty of all these places that I get to call home and all these places that I get to visit. It's just such a gorgeous, stunning life of yes after yes. And that gets a little full. And although I love a calendar and I love filling it with beautiful things and experiences and events and meetups and all the goodness, I am also feeling a calling in my heart to incorporate more margin. And I know that maybe that's something you do all the time with great ease. It feels like a bit of a challenge. It feels like an opportunity for me to be really intentional. And I think that my resistance comes from thinking that margin means I'm going to miss out on something fabulous, but it's actually more expansive. It's actually, for me, allowing me to spend more time in the places I want to be. It was really hard to leave France. It was really hard to leave the chateau. It's fun to have a new project, and whoo, is it a new project? It's great and fabulous, and it would benefit from more dedicated attention. And so I am incorporating some more margin into my calendar, and I am going there earlier than I originally planned. And I'm so excited that I will be recording several episodes of this podcast while I am in France, because I'm going to go earlier than I expected. I'm going to take Amelia with me. We're going to go through London and get our Harry Potter on, and it's just going to be really fun, and it feels expansive and lovely. And so all of that to say, I invite you to look at the places where you can incorporate more margin and really lean into the enjoyment that comes from all of that extra space, and being intentional of where you want to spend that extra time and extra space and how you want to feel while you're doing it. Okay, let's transition to our fabulous guest today. We have Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. She is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, and fierce advocate for self-worth and authentic leadership. She is best known for her highly rated podcast and her nonprofit work. She is dedicated to amplifying voices that often go unheard, particularly women and underrepresented communities. She continues to create safe spaces where vulnerability leads to real transformation. And now she's sharing her personal story in a brand new way through her debut memoir and a #1 Amazon bestseller. I buried her in a French press. The book is a raw, honest reflection on identity, loss, and finding your voice after you've lost it. It's a story of self-worth, resilience, and learning that you are your own best advocate. I am delighted to share this uplifting conversation with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. Sarah, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Wendy, thanks so much for having me and for sharing your space with me. I think it's so amazing what you're doing, and I love to see other women doing podcasts. So thank you so much for having me.
It's so fun. Thank you for that. I receive all of that sweet, kind, generous goodness. And I said before we hit record, like you and your fancy mic with this boom arm, it's so cool. And then you said you have been podcasting for 10 years.
I have. So the original podcast that we started with, I started back in 2016,
Wow.
and it was about supply chain. So I have one podcast called Let's Talk Supply Chain. But
Okay.
originally, I got to tell you this because this is
I
kind of
want
fun.
to know it all.
I asked a male colleague to be my co-host,
Okay.
and my team at the time, because I was director of sales and marketing, they were like, tongue in cheek, let's call it Two Babes Talk Supply Chain and see how far we could push the industry. And we got 1,000 downloads overnight one night.
Amazing. I
Yeah,
love it.
crazy. And then that was like kind of it. I mean, there's more to the story, and we'll get to
Of
that.
course. Of course. In 10 years, let's hope there's more to the story. I love that. And I love that you are a pioneer of this fabulous, beautiful platform. I love
Mhm.
it. It's my favorite thing of all the fun and fabulous things I do.
Mhm.
And I have a very legit life full of fun and fabulous things, and I'm only available for what delights me. So the fact that this is at
I
the
love
top of the
that.
list, oh, it's true.
You and I need to talk after this because
Yes,
I
we
want to know what
do.
that looks like.
Oh my gosh, it's transformative.
Okay.
Yes, the power of a personal mantra
hmm
that is so expansive, like I am only
Well,
available for what delights me, is it's life-changing, and I love that that resonates and you have one. So tell me.
actually, I just wanted to say because we are going to talk about the book today, but in the book, I share an affirmation that I say while I walk the dogs every morning.
Mm,
I love the fact that you're talking about this and then I'm talking about mine. You build an affirmation and what that looks like, and you take pieces from
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
because yours isn't necessarily completely right for me, and mine isn't necessarily completely right for somebody else.
right,
And so mine is made up of little pieces
yeah.
of what I've heard and what resonated. And I just want to encourage everybody to, when you hear stuff like that, if it resonates, there might be little pieces. Just take little pieces and build your own.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And just, even more to that subject, there's something about your affirmation being yours, but you still sharing it
hmm
in your world, in your life, in the book, mine being mine. It serves as a permission slip to other people to create their own, and even to do it in a way. I could have had um mantra that was what I'm no longer available for, which those come and go for me. Like I am not available for this. I am not available for that. But what really, even in saying I'm not available, the
hmm
focus is still on what I don't
Negative.
want. So
hmm
shifting it to what I do want, and to have such a broad spectrum of whatever delights me, which is like very encompassing. And there's also been some fine tuning within that, like you
hmm
said, taking little bits and pieces of our own experience and in what we see in others, that we can really use these things as a
hmm
filter for everything we say yes to and everything we say no to.
Yeah. And fun fact, when people come to me and they're asking me to do something either for free or whatever that looks like, my go-to is my pro bono activities are done for the year.
I love that so much. I have so much to talk to you about. And I think that it just happens to us. We're living our lives, we're contributing, we're gaining skills. But for me, particularly, and I think for a lot of women, a lot of our skill gathering and experience and the expression of that experience
Hmm.
is in caregiving and in a lot of environments that the contribution isn't valued monetarily. So even when we do have a marketable skill, even when we do have experience that deserves, if not requires, a price associated with it, these old stories of, well,
Hmm.
this is just what I do, this is just what I'm good at.
It's the right thing to do.
Right. Right. It's not costing me anything to share all of this information, but actually, it's not, something doesn't have to deplete you before it's worthy of being compensated for.
Yeah, it's very, very, very true.
And of course, everyone, we all go, oh, yeah, 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 of course. And these soundtracks that are going
Hmm.
unchecked in our head have
Hmm.
us, well, I'll say, have me often in a place that I'm spending so much time wondering if it's okay for me to put a price on this
Right.
amount of time. It's like, oh, good God, I've already wasted so much money not pricing this.
Right. And then it's what price?
Right.
Right. Because then you go back and forth like, oh, if I say that, is that too much? If I say this, I'm leaving money on the table. I don't know. That's how I kind of built my business. We started the podcast in 2016. I was working for a family business at the time. My trajectory for that was since I was 16, I wanted to take over the company.
Okay.
And 10 days before my 37th birthday, we closed the doors for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to go into today. And partly it's not my story to tell, to be
Sure.
honest. And I say that in the book. It was the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
Worst day of my life. Okay. Because like everything was gone. Title was
Oh.
gone. Job was gone. You know, I had never really been on an interview before.
Mhm.
And I say all of this because what kept me going was that I had companies paying $100 to come on the show at the time.
Ah,
And it was obligation.
yeah.
I had an obligation to deliver what I said I was going to deliver.
Wow.
And so that really was what helped me keep going within those dark days. And it wasn't until I had somebody, and he's a friend of mine now, come on the show and say, I would have paid $1,000 for this. And overnight, I upped my prices.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Right. And
It's
so
amazing.
from there, in order for me to think about upping the prices and all this kind of stuff, because I fought. After that, I
Right.
fought. And our prices have, gone up significantly from there. But part of that was me getting a business coach.
Hmm.
And the business coach sort of nudging me and nudging me and nudging me. Let's try it. Let's see if the
Right.
market will bear it. Let's see what's going to happen. And slowly but surely, it got to a point, and we have 18 people that work for us, and
Amazing.
we create all sorts of content in the supply chain industry. And it's partly because I got out of my comfort zone. And as soon as the universe showed it to me,
Right.
I made the changes.
I'm I'm so grateful for this conversation. Of course, I am a spiritual person as well, and I know I've been up since 4:45 this morning reading A Course in Miracles and
Wow.
knowing how all these things work. And yet, when the timing of a conversation or connection or meetup comes together, it still surprises and delights me because, like, of course, I expect this and I believe this, but when it happens, it's still like,
Hmm.
oh, how lovely. And I'm gushing because I was just having this conversation with ChatGPT yesterday when I was writing some things. And I was asking for some suggestions for pricing, and what came back, I messaged my friend Liz. I was like, chat prices things like a dude. Like, this is
Yes.
unbelievable. And so, what I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you, like, I love that your interview was with a man that said
Hmm.
he would pay $1,000 for this. And I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you about your business coach. And were they male or female, or just how?
He's a male.
Right.
Hmm.
Because I've been doing this work not for very long, about 6 years. And all of my coaches have been women, and it's exactly what I needed.
Hmm.
And I just needed that
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
this time. And and I was completely unavailable for a man's opinion. That was that was a mantra that I had very strong. So even if there was one
Got it.
available to
I
tell
got
me how
it.
much I should
Uh-huh.
charge, I was not interested. But I love how a part of our personal evolution is also evolving
And champions,
in everything.
right?
Yes.
Like these are the champions that are, making a difference and helping to think differently. I will say, like 95% of my team are women-owned businesses.
Yeah.
So he's like one of the only
Right.
men on the team.
And the bar is high.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I feel like it's making an impact on the women owned businesses that work with me as well,
For sure.
because they're seeing how I think about the business. They're seeing how I level it up from not only a pricing standpoint, but how we're moving into different regions and expanding and all of the things. And I'm hoping that that sort of makes an impact on their business as well. And not everybody needs to, go for the stars.
Of
I
course.
mean,
Right.
listen, if you have 2 to 3 clients and it gives you what you need and it delights you on a monthly basis,
Yeah.
then that is success for you.
Right.
And so I think it's just really interesting. And I also think so. I also have a second podcast called
Awesome.
Blended, and it's about I bring 5 different people together from different walks of life to talk about inclusion in the workplace.
Mm.
Experts are welcome, but not needed. We want to hear from everyday
Right.
people. And the reason why I bring that up is because I really truly feel that having different perspectives and diverse
Mhm.
voices at the table is really what's going to make an impact not only on me, but on the rest of the team and anybody who's within our community working with us or a member or whatever that looks like. And everybody sort of benefits from that. And I took it even further, actually. I created a nonprofit called
Amazing.
Blended Pledge, and it's blendedpledge.org. And we give away grants to cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements.
Mm.
Because even more importantly, we need to have those kinds of conversations on conference stages
Yes.
so that we can reach more people with different perspectives, creativity, like spark creativity, spark innovation. And the only way to do that is to hear from different people. So
Yes.
very
Yes.
important for me.
I love that. And I love how it's playing out in your business and in your platforms
Mhm.
and expansively, and how we can still bring that practice
Hmm.
into our lives. So in the example that I was sharing earlier, and I'm not trying to make this all about me, I am just a
Fine.
verbal processor. And
Fine.
wait a minute, I'm seeing a pattern here. But there was in the past 6 years, I was rebuilding,
Hmm.
reinventing my
Yep.
life, not even rebuilding, but like reintroducing myself to me and then
Hmm.
reinventing into the person. And I needed a very focused container of support to make
Yeah.
sure that I was in my own personal alignment and knowing
Mhm.
what I wanted, because I had spent 50 plus years outsourcing my own opinion to other
Mhm.
people to find out
Yep.
how I thought about something. So there was a time for that insulated
Yeah.
container, and now is a time to expand and get other perspectives and resources and think of new ways to be in contribution.
Hmm. Well, and what the example, I appreciate you for sharing that example. And I want to bring it, and I know we're going to talk about the book, but I want to
We
bring it
will.
back to the
Please.
book because what you were just talking about is what I talk about around leadership, right?
Amazing.
Entrepreneurship, how you be a leader, but how it's tied to your self-worth.
Yeah.
So the example that you just gave is that you spent the time that you needed with whoever you needed to spend it with
Yeah.
to really get a better understanding of who you are, what impact you want to make, how do you want to show up for yourself, how do you want to show up for other people. And that really comes down to your self worth
Yes.
and how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And in order for you to be able to lead other people, you need to be have a solid understanding and foundation of what that looks like for you so you know how you're going to show up for other people. Otherwise, it gets a little bit messy because you have a lot of emotions thrown in there, you've got a lot of bias thrown in there, and leadership can get really messy, and I think that's where we're at a little bit when it comes to leadership. That's why in the book, I talk about my relationship with self worth. So that's what the book is about. It's about all of the challenges, not all of them, because there was a couple of stories I left out.
Well, there's something for the inner circle.
Well, I actually share quite vulnerably.
Of
People were a little
course.
bit surprised, but I share all of these examples of, what I've been through. And it led me to this personal brand of focusing on self-worth and leadership, et cetera, et cetera. Because when you take the time to be able to do that and you take the time to reflect on some of the things that you've been through and what you can take from those things, who am
Yes.
I? What do I like? What do I not like? What am I good at? What am I not good at? I was able, and I'm hoping that other people can do this too, in really defining and finding your superpower.
Right.
So I'm building this brand, right? This for profit brand. I've got a nonprofit, and I'm sort of like, who am I in all of this?
Mhm.
And that was a big question for me because I didn't necessarily want to be a supply chain expert. I had been in the industry for a very long time. I'd been on Bloomberg and BBC, and I was like, is this who I am?
Right.
And I went to this conference and I did this personal branding session. And the guy was like, your personal brand should be about one word. And I was like, how
Mm.
in the actual
Yeah.
is that like, how?
Right. And any woman who's over 35, how can she have one word? She doesn't even have one story.
Right. So I started thinking about it. Like I thought about it for a week. I was in LA for a week and I thought about it a little bit every day. What does that mean for me? What is that one word? How can I even get there?
Mm.
And I got on the plane for a red eye home and it hit me as soon as I was sitting on that seat and I was like, it's self-worth. Because
Mm.
I was like, what is it that I do? I create safe space for conversation. What is my superpower? Creating that safe space for conversation. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about supply chain, it doesn't matter
Right.
whether we're talking about inclusion. It doesn't matter if I'm on a Zoom call with somebody and I create that space for them to be able to share what they need to share today. And it also came down to, how I've built up self worth and how I've lost it, and how
Mm.
I've built it up again and how I've lost it. And I sort of thought about like, this is a journey for a lot of people. A lot of people get focused on what's my purpose? I need to have a purpose. If I don't have a purpose,
Right.
well, no. Why? Society says you have to have a purpose. Okay. But it took me 40 years to
Yeah.
figure out what my superpower was. It's not necessarily a purpose, but it's my superpower. It's what I like to do. It's what I can do. It's the impact that I can, make and give back. And I just think it's, really interesting in taking a look and reflecting back,
Yeah.
but then also taking the time to really understand who you want to be and how you want to show up.
Right. And I think that this happens multiple times in our lives
Hmm.
because anyone who landed on their one word when they were 17,
Oh, it's going to change. It's
let's hope so.
absolutely going to change. I mean, that
Let's
is
hope
my
so.
word in the moment as it
Right.
stands today. I want to
Exactly.
talk about self worth and leadership and what that looks like. And because, listen, this book, so I've mentioned it a couple times, I'll just mention it.
We are talking about the book.
I buried her in a French press. It's a memoir about finding my voice and the power of being heard.
I love it.
Self-worth and finding your voice and your voice are completely intertwined. How you speak to somebody and how you show up is also going to show the other person how you feel about yourself, whether you're
Right.
intentional about it or not.
Yeah.
Right? It's the words that
Yes.
you use, it's the tone that you use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And people are getting better at it. They're getting better at
Good.
reading people and things like that. And so you really need to figure out who that is and how you want to show up. And so I talk about finding my voice, but it's correlated to self-worth and
Totally.
how we feel about ourselves. But also, people get so fixated on, I need to have this all right. My confidence needs to be at 100% every day. My self-worth needs to be at 100%. And if it's not, I'm an awful person. But why?
Right. It's
Why? It doesn't
ridiculous.
have to be.
No.
I mean, but it's how we've kind of been conditioned,
Oh my gosh, it's 100% how we've been conditioned. And I say
right?
it's ridiculous because though that's one of those soundtracks that makes so much
Mhm.
sense when it's on repeat on the inside, but as
Uh-huh.
soon as the words fall out of your mouth, you're like, oh yeah, never mind. I obviously don't have to be perfect. And it's fascinating. And I'm sure well, I'm assuming you find this just because your heartbeat is conversation, but how often people say they're talking about something that and they get really excited about it, and
Hmm.
then the next sentence is, well, it's not perfect, but like, oh my gosh, why did you say that? Rewind.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not
know,
ever
but
say
everybody
that.
does it. Everybody does it.
Right.
I said something the other day and I was like, why did you say that? It's almost like, when somebody gives you a compliment on
Yes.
your shirt or your dress or whatever that is, and you're like, oh, I got it on sale. I
Totally.
paid $5.
Right. It is conditioning. We've
Yeah.
been trained, and by all well-meaning, hopefully, people
Hmm.
and society, that it's just much more convenient for them if we are small and pleasing. And these have become our habits, but now we're aware of
Hmm.
our habits because we are listening to other people and we are paying attention and we are feeling a shift internally and externally, and we are being intentional about how we want to show up. Was introduced to a book several years ago, but finally actually opened it last year, um, because I had it and I felt like a better person just for owning it. And I knew I was going to be mad when I read it, and I just wasn't ready to be mad. And it's by Elise Lowen, and it's called On Our Best Behavior:
Okay.
The Seven Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it gives
heavy.
me chills every time. It's like,
That is heavy. I need the audiobook version because I
oh my
cannot read a
gosh.
paperback version of that.
It's so good. It's so well written. It's such I want to say battle cry, but it's not. It's such an invitation for a sisterhood, a tsunami of love rising
Hmm.
for women to women.
Hmm.
And it's so beautifully done and enraging at the same
Right.
time. We
Hmm.
had a Say Yes Sisterhood book club for that book because I couldn't read it by myself.
That's fair.
Like, I'm going to be mad and I need to get this out of my body so
You
that I
have to
can
have an
sleep at night.
outlet. Yeah, yeah. Therapy, book club,
Totally.
inner circle, whatever that looks like. You have to have an outlet. I get that.
Yeah. So you've mentioned this finding self-worth and then losing it and then finding it and losing it. And I'm wondering, could it also be called
Hmm.
like a reinvention or a recalibrating to the person that you are becoming?
Hmm.
And what is your process when you are in that rebuilding stage
Hmm.
or redefining stage of identifying what's important to me now and how does that support the woman I'm becoming?
So there's absolute growth that comes out of it. And
Yeah.
that's why I say, because like in the book, I go back to some of the things that I went through. And it
Mhm.
was kind of like therapy, right? Because
For
I was
sure.
able to relive them. They were a little bit re-triggering, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the hardest years of my life, and one of the most exciting because I was able to talk through it with somebody.
Right.
And I was able to relive it, but in a different way and be able to look at it in a different light. And
Right.
that's why I almost say, you don't have to write a book, but maybe go back and take a look at who you were in that moment and who you were after that moment. Who were you when you crawled out of it,
Yeah.
right? Maybe you walked out of it. Maybe you crawled out of it. Maybe you ran out
Right.
of it, you
Yeah.
know? And what can I bring to me out of that as far as like learning? In the fact that, again, who am I? What do I like to do? What do I not like to do? What am I good at? What am I not good at? And
Right.
how have I evolved from there? Because I think also we need to celebrate.
Yes.
I'm not great at it, but I think we also need a reminder that we need to celebrate, where we were at the time and who we are today and all the things that have happened to be able to help us get to this point.
Yes.
I think for me, it looked a little bit different in every sort of scenario. So,
Sure.
one of the things that I talk about is an autoimmune disease that I had or
Mhm.
that I have. And it took me 15 years to figure out what it was. And I went to all
Wow.
sorts of specialists and things like that. And I'll tell you, it had to do with how my body looked. And that is very taxing mentally
Yes. Yes.
because, I was working out all the time. I was eating all the right things. I still do. And it's a constant battle. I have a constant battle with food and inflammation
Mm.
and this autoimmune disease. And that one, it took everything in me to keep going back to specialists to figure out what it was. And nobody knew.
Mm, so sorry.
I went to one more specialist, and it was actually Love Island UK that sort of helped me figure out what it
Okay.
was and the stories in the book, and it's kind of wild. But also understanding and remembering to look for some of the signs,
Right.
right, from the universe as to, okay, I'm in the right place at the right
Yeah.
time. Oh, I'm not in the right place at the right time. So I think with different scenarios and different things that I went through, it looked very different on the time period that it took to
Hmm.
get through it. And
Sure.
some of it, I'm still not through it. I'm still battling with my autoimmune disease, right? And yeah, it just looked very different for me when I lost everything, but had obligation to
Hmm.
keep the podcast going and like learn graphic design, social media, website design, you name it, and
Hmm.
not actually know how to build a business out of a podcast. I mean,
Right. But an overnight entrepreneur.
yeah, I mean, I grew up with entrepreneurial parents, and
Right.
so I had the opportunity to really watch and learn and ask questions and things like that. But when you lose everything and you've lost what you thought was your future,
Hmm.
there were hours where I would cry on the couch, and then there were hours that I'm writing a script to do a podcast because I have an obligation because they paid to come on the show.
Yep.
But at the time, I also had a lot of side hustles. So I really kind of kept myself busy in the
Hmm.
fact that I was determined to figure out my place and what was going to work for me and what wasn't. And I knew out of all those side hustles, one was going to work out. I just didn't know which one it was.
Right.
And only time sort of told that story. And as you can imagine, with us closing the doors in the industry that I had a podcast in, it
Yes.
was very difficult to also be a public face because I was like, who's
Mhm.
going to listen to me? Look at what just
Right.
happened, you know?
Right. We don't know.
Mm-mm.
And, we have these physical responses
Mhm.
of flight or freeze or fight or fawn, like get into a people pleasing mode. And we are just moving through this. And we
Mhm.
don't know which one's going to take
Mm-mm.
off, but we know that sitting on the couch isn't going to do it either. So we're going to
Yeah.
take this action. So I'm interested as you were working multiple side hustles and doing what you knew to do each
Mhm.
day, how did you then let the ones that were ready to complete and let your nervous system be regulated as well in that asking for a friend to
So
know that
My
that
nervous system still isn't regulated. I mean, let's just be
okay, well
honest.
then there we go.
So I've suffered for panic attacks since my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I get panic attacks on stage. So I
Mm,
continued to say yes, just so you know,
mhm.
like
Yeah,
everything that made me uncomfortable, including speaking on stage,
sure.
I would say yes to and still do it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I wouldn't do though is I wouldn't do keynotes. And at one point, I had to decide, like, I really had to have a conversation with myself. Am I saying
Yeah.
it out of fear
Right?
or am I saying it because it doesn't align?
Yeah.
And after doing some of that work, I realized that it didn't align with what I wanted to do, but I could reimagine a traditional keynote
Mhm.
to what I wanted it to be and align with what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
And so I now do keynotes, but I do them very differently and they're very interactive and
Right.
they're mostly around the book and asking questions and sort of workshoppy, but they
Yes.
work.
Right.
And that is an example of how sometimes we just need to think outside of the box.
Yes. To know if this or that is in alignment, we have to know
Mhm.
what alignment is and what
Yeah,
it
we
feels
absolutely
like
do.
and what
Yeah.
it means today.
Hmm.
And not, I mean, that alignment is not a daily moving target for me
Yeah.
because I
Uh-huh.
don't know if that's alignment, but there is this grounding and this practice that requires time
Hmm.
and commitment.
Hmm.
But then it's what informs the future
Yeah.
things that we're going to engage in, which will save us time.
I mean, listen, you are going to do things that are out of alignment
Right.
because you're going to
That's how you
want to
know.
try different things to figure it out.
Right.
So if you say yes to something that's not in alignment
Right.
and you do it anyways, it's not a failure. It's nothing negative. You take something from every sort of experience that
Feedback.
you have,
Yeah.
but it's feedback to yourself as long as you're aware of what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and whether
Yeah.
it sits with you or not.
So you lost the opportunity that you thought was going to be your career,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
you lost it at 37,
Yep.
which is very different than at 27.
Yep.
And so you got to work and were making
Yeah.
things up and doing that and side hustle, side hustle, side hustle. And how did you let yourself know that it was safe to narrow
Uh-huh.
down from however many things to however many things you narrowed down to?
So a couple of things happened. The
Mhm.
pandemic happened and
Yes.
everybody turned to digital content.
Hmm.
So let's talk supply chain got very busy.
Yeah.
I had a tech company. I also had a sweat resistant makeup line for female athletes with a marketplace. And
Amazing.
then I also had another makeup line that had an experience box, like a FabFitFun type box.
Okay.
And I realized that I am not good at B2C marketing. I am
Okay.
good at B2B marketing. I'm not good at
Yeah.
B2C marketing. And I spent
Okay.
a lot of time, energy, money, and resources into those things. And
Yeah.
they were doing okay, but they really weren't moving the needle.
Right.
And so around the pandemic, I decided that I would focus on the tech and the content business. And so I
Okay.
decided to wind the other two down. It was just time.
Yeah.
It was too hard. When something gets too hard for me, I feel like it's the universe telling me
Hmm.
this might not be right for you
Right.
at this moment.
Yeah. It's time to
Right?
complete.
Yeah, it's time to complete. And then for the tech business, my business partner actually had three things happen at exactly the same time. My business partner had a heart attack and bypass surgery,
Oh
and he
gosh.
was not going to be able to be part of the business for a while. I got an offer for investment for the
Okay.
technology company, but it wasn't a very good one, and it would have set us up for failure.
Mm,
And if I had taken the money and he wasn't part of the business, how was I going to manage both? And I was going to have to make a decision.
sure.
Number three was that I had another friend who's a male say to me, "The technology is draining you. The
Mm,
content is where you light up."
beautiful.
And that was it for me.
Yeah.
because I had to make a choice in that moment, which one I was actually going to be able to move forward with.
Yeah,
And that was the moment that I had decided to sell the technology company and move forward with the content company.
that's beautiful.
Mm.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so now our opening question. Um, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Oh, well, I'm saying yes in a couple of different ways because our business, we've got a really big announcement coming out at the end of February. And then we're also expanding into two or three different regions this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way that I'm saying yes to myself. I also just started reformer Pilates, which is so hard, and I'm saying yes to
Amazing.
myself.
Very good. That's so good.
Yeah.
And you have the audiobook, you have
Yes, the
like
audiobook
all
just
of
came
these
out.
fun things. There are lots of yeses.
There are a ton of yeses. This and then also actually I joined two masterminds as well.
Oh,
For me
fantastic.
as an entrepreneur to be able to start building community because as an entrepreneur it can feel kind of lonely.
Yes, it can.
Especially when you're in the industry that you are consistently breaking glass ceilings and pushing the industry to see how far you could take this, which is something that we do on a regular basis,
Yes, for
which is fun
sure.
for me.
Yeah.
But it's also very terrifying because you're doing it publicly and
Right.
if it doesn't work out, people know.
Yes. Now, I've been involved in many masterminds over the past 6 years, but I would love for you just to share the high level details of what a mastermind is, what your experience is in
Hmm.
that as well,
I haven't
because,
started.
well, I know, but what you're anticipating, and I mean, have you been in a mastermind before?
Not really,
Oh, well,
no.
you're going to
And
love it.
so I actually joined one of them. So, if anybody's heard of Lewis Howes,
Yes.
he has the School of Greatness podcast. He's actually the reason why I started the podcast because he had a
Amazing.
podcast in 2016. And I was like, well, if Lewis Howes can do it, why can't Sarah Barnes-Humphrey?
That's right.
And so he has one right now, and I have joined it. It's a little bit different to what I had expected because I wanted a bit of a smaller group,
Sure.
and that's why I had joined this other one as well. So I actually am going to both. One
Yes.
is a smaller group that has some entrepreneurs in there that have had exits, which is important for me
Mm,
as I think about the future of the business, succession planning,
yeah.
things like that. And then there are some executives from media businesses as well, which is very important for me because
Sure.
I didn't come from marketing. I did not come from media. I have never
Right.
been in either of those positions before. And so
Yes.
a lot of this is very self-taught and through trial and error.
Right.
And it would be great to sort of get an understanding of what the actual media industry is. How are they thinking? How are they moving? What does that look like? Because that sparks innovation for me to
Yes.
really understand what's possible within the business.
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what my experience was in
Hmm.
not in that with those same people, but a mastermind is an opportunity for us to see what we don't know
Hmm.
and embrace that we don't know what we don't know, but we
Yeah.
just got ourselves in a room with a bunch of people who do. And there are things that we know that they don't. And
Hmm.
it is just this beautiful opportunity
Hmm.
to engage in collective and individual growth.
Yeah.
But when there are multiple industries
Hmm.
involved, it's so great because you can hear what's working for somebody else. You can hear it so easily for them where you
Yeah.
might be in resistance if you were
Hmm.
getting the coaching yourself, but
Right.
you can hear what you might not be available to hear when the person is
Yeah.
talking to you.
But you can also pick out things.
Yes, what
Like what's
works for
working for
you.
them isn't necessarily going to completely work for me,
Totally.
but I can then see out of what they're talking about and what they've implemented and how they've
Yeah.
done it that maybe there's a piece that I can take
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, we can run with that fairly easily." How do we do that? And what does that look like for us?
Right. There's always a nugget. There's always something enlightening when we are looking
Yeah.
and available for solution, and
Yeah.
knowing that the universe and all of its creativity is bringing together all the cooperative components on our behalf. And sometimes they're people, and sometimes they're animals, and sometimes they're something we read in a book, and
Yep.
something we see on the freeway, and all the things. The lessons are all around us.
Hmm.
And if we're looking for them, we will find them.
So true.
Oh,
So
it's so
true. I
good.
love that.
Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, you're very fun. I could talk to you all day long. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can listen to the book or read it themselves, all the things.
Yeah. Okay. So the book, I promise you, if you search on Amazon, I buried her in a French press. Surprise. Nothing else comes up. And there's actually a story in the book.
Yeah, can I know why you chose that title? Because that is very funny.
So it's an ode to my grandmother. A lot of people get the book and they're like, it's going to be this big epiphany and analogy, and it's kind of not.
Okay.
But it's a very, very, very fun story and sad story, and also a story of resilience in a very hard
Mhm.
moment. And I think
Mhm.
it's chapter 11 or something like that. But I actually did bury my step grandmother in a French press.
I
And the
love
story
that.
is in here. And so her and my grandfather were some of my best friends. And so I
Mm.
wanted to do something in their memory and her memory. And so that's why the title, but go and like listen and read the book. So Amazon, you can get it in paperback, you can do audiobook. I actually recorded the audiobook in the same studio that John Cena records the Honda commercials. So
Cool.
I felt kind of cool at the time.
You are
Would
kind of
love for
cool.
you to go get the audiobook. And then on Instagram, I am active on Instagram, Sarah Barnes Humphrey, LinkedIn, Sarah Barnes Humphrey, and then website. So blendedpledge.org. Go and check out Blended Podcast. If you've got a speaking engagement, come and apply for a grant. We'd love to have you. And then sarahbarneshumphrey.com. And we've got let's talk supplychain.com too.
Fantastic. We will link everything down in the show notes. Thank you for your time, Sarah. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me and for sharing your space with me today. I think that, what we're creating and how we can make an impact through our microphones on a podcast is just so magical. And everybody has created these different spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you for lending your space to me today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing it so well since the beginning that it was still around for me to dip my toe in. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.